Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the news that the Edmonton Elks have released quarterback Taylor Cornelius yesterday. So before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or the CFL. That being said, let's get on into it. So yeah, of course, I'm on Instagram yesterday and I'm talking about the fact that I think Cornelius is going to be one of those cap casualties for the Elks before I go to bed. It happens after I go to bed. I don't even get to see it in the morning, and then I go to lunch and I see that he has been released. This was one of those things I personally expected, and I think a few other people expected as well, more than just a few. The Elks released Stephen Dunbar Jr., I believe, 2 days ago, and then a couple other players. I can't remember off the top of my head who they were, but Cornelius is one of those players that you wondered whether or not he'd be able to stay, because he was going to make $100,000 in guaranteed money, regardless of the fact that they were going to release him. However, if he would have stayed with the team by January 15th, he also would have been able to get another $100,000 on top of that. My biggest concern with the Elks and Taylor Cornelius is the fact that they haven't really been good with him at the QB position. Not saying that this is all on him, because that 2021 team was terrible. That 2022 team probably left something to be desired, but the 2023 team I felt like had a good direction and should have been a team that ended up winning more games than they did. They finished the year, I think, 4-14. Originally, I said that Edmonton would win, I think, 5 games, which I know seems low, and me saying, oh, they should have won more games, one more game with my expectations doesn't seem like a lot. However, with some of the additions that they had brought in, with some of these other teams that I thought would be weaker, like Saskatchewan, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen with them. I was hoping maybe things would be different in Edmonton. However, with Cornelius at the helm, things really weren't. They started out the year with him as the primary starter, and things didn't go well. They started off the year 0-9. Now, granted, he was the starter for every single one of those games, but it goes to show that Cornelius in the fit with Edmonton probably wasn't going to work right now, because they ended up going to Trey Ford in the second half of the year. They win 4 of their final 9 games, so they go 4-5 over their last 9 games. They go 0-9 their first 9 games, and that is a big concern. So having Trey Ford go out there and be a guy that's a former first overall pick for them, or first round pick I should say, is one of those deals where you're thinking the door is shut. So with Cornelius being a guy that is not even 30 yet, I'd like to say that he is someone that could probably get a different opportunity in the CFL, go to a team that isn't in a rut, because Edmonton is in a rut. But in the terms of being in an Elks jersey, that's not going to be the case. And now you're starting to wonder what's going to happen with that extra money. Are they going to go out there and they get a guy in free agency that maybe addresses a issue or a need for them? Unfortunately, it looks like they're probably going to spend this money at the quarterback spot, and I feel very frustrated with it. I have voiced my opinion on this multiple times, and I know that Chris Jones is the head coach and the GM of the team and knows way more about football than I do. However, I think from what we're going to see here, McLeod Bethel-Thompson is a name that they are pursuing heavily in order to try to get him to be the quarterback. Now, is he going to be the starter? I couldn't tell you, but with Jones, it seems like there is constant need to not let Trey take the reins and see what he can do. Is part of this about job security? You could probably argue that, because the 2 big reasons that I think Jones is still the head coach in Edmonton, despite the fact that they've struggled, is the fact he is the GM, he is the coach, he saves money by doing both of those roles. And 2, he is a guy that has been able to take teams that are down on their luck and turn them around relatively quickly. Won a championship with Edmonton in 2015, took the Riders, and they were a side that was struggling a little bit, was able to get them in a good spot before he left. But yeah, so I think those 2 things right there, with the thought process being we can save money by bringing him in. He's already won us a championship and could turn us back around yet again, is a appealing thing for this team. However, looking at this now, it just seems like maybe he's worried that if he has another bad year, that the coaching position in the GM spot is not going to be him in that position. So I think that with McLeod Bethel-Thompson, you'll have a proven CFL starter, a guy that's been able to play in the USFL or XFL, I can't remember, I think it's USFL in this time. He would be somebody that is experienced, and you wouldn't have to worry as much about the younger QB mistakes, and is not the runner that Trey Ford is. But I just don't agree with this at all. I would say that if I was Jones, I would make my case to the front office and say I would rather have Ford go out there and be the starter and possibly even have a bad year, but get him more experience because he could be the guy for us. MBT, no disrespect to him, obviously a guy that had a decent run in Toronto, is not the future for Edmonton, not the long-term future anyway. Maybe he is a guy that goes out there and they go 9-9 and they make the playoffs one year, but in 4 or 5 years, is MBT even going to be playing football? That remains to be seen, and that is a worry of mine. How much would they even pay McLeod Bethel-Thompson because he didn't play in the CFL last year? And what exactly would that do with the relationship with Ford and Jones and the organization, and if Ford wants to stay? Because, well, there is a little bit of a question mark about where Trey's future really lies in the coming years. I think it was apparent that Cornelius at the moment was not their guy at quarterback, and it is pretty apparent too that for the long-term future, MBT is not. So I actually did have a talk with a starting CFL quarterback recently. I'm not going to name names because, you know, I don't want them to have to be thrown out there like that when we didn't even say if I could say their name. But he kind of views it as a good thing where maybe MBT goes in there and is a mentor slash competitor to where he's not going to get outright handed the job. However, he's going to push Trey to want to get that QB1 spot, which he already does. We know that. But also learn from a guy that's been in the league for a little bit and has certainly thrown the pigskin around. However, I would say, again, my biggest concern is with how Jones has handled the Trey Ford quarterback situation over his career in Edmonton and his time with Jones. Seems like I could just see Jones going out there, press conference, signing MBT right away, saying that he's our undisputed starter. I'm not going to change my mind. And then the next thing you know, you would see a situation where Edmonton starts out the year, let's say like 2-7 or something like that. Let's just throw out a random situation. Jones would get fired or something like that. And then you have a organization that has to repair their relationship with Trey while also having to figure out about the hole at the GM and head coaching spot, while also having, you know, MBT have to deal with all that drama too, which, not saying this isn't the case, and again, maybe MBT goes out there and he would be the starter and helps his team out for a bit, but I just want Trey to get the starts, and that's just what I see right now. I think that the West is in a spot where Calgary, Saskatchewan, and Edmonton could go out there and maybe get the third spot in the division and make a playoff appearance, and we will see. But anyway, yeah, Taylor Cornelius released by the Elks. A lot of things probably happening outside of that. So anyway, what are your thoughts on all of this? And what do you think old Chris Jones is up to? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe and have a great night.